Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Laura Musica Show, your favorite update in the battle for life, family, and freedom. So excited once again to have you with me. I'm your host, Laura Musica, attorney and human rights advocate, and I serve as president and CEO of Sidewalk Advocates for Life, the nation's largest peaceful sidewalk outreach organization. Adoption. Would it surprise you that most of the time when we offer this on the sidewalk in front of an abortion facility, a woman often says to us, "Oh, I could never do that." It's so interesting. For some reason, it brings up a lot of fear in her. Because we know adoption is truly a heroic option, a selfless gift of a mother to place her child in a loving home when she legitimately feels like she doesn't have the best option herself. How do we understand this and reframe it for someone? And then the culture at large, how do we properly talk about this and share it and celebrate it? How can we help others see this as brave love? How can we better support birth parents? And why is it potentially illegal and even a little weird for mothers walking into an abortion facility to see someone holding a sign in front of the facility that says, "I'll adopt your baby"? So many questions, so much to talk about here. I'm bringing in a dear friend and adoption superstar, Carrie Nellis, to help us to unpack this today. So let me go ahead and introduce our special guest. Carrie Nellis graduated from Wheaton College and holds a JD from Mercer University School of Law. Within her first year of practice, Carrie had her first adoption case and a fire inside her started burning. Shortly afterwards, the Nellis Law Group was born. Carrie quickly became involved in juvenile court cases and saw an opportunity to serve her clients by not only fighting for them inside the courtroom, but by loving them outside the courtroom walls as well. But as many do, she became disillusioned with the juvenile system that so many times fails children and birth parents. The Lord showed Carrie that through open adoption, children would have an opportunity for a stable, safe upbringing, and birth parents would have the opportunity to reclaim their dignity and know what it means to be truly loved. One thing led to another, and the Lord allowed her law practice to become exclusively centered around adoption law. In 2016, the Lord called Carrie to start Abiding Love Adoption Agency with a professed passion and mission to serve birth parents well by loving them first. Carrie also created Abiding Love Charities to provide adoption education and to serve birth mothers, adoptees, and adoptive parents post-placement. She considers it an honor that God chose her to love on such special women and men during one of the most difficult times of their lives. So let's go ahead and welcome to the program, Carrie Nellis. Carrie, so great to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for bringing the Southerner on.
I love it, from one Southerner to another. Although my parents were born and raised in northeastern Michigan, so I've got a little bit of a Midwest thing going on. But having been born and raised in Texas, I hear that it cancels out. So who knows? I don't know. But I'm still a fellow Southerner, I guess, at least
Right.
if you consider Texas to be so. Right. So
That's right.
so
Well,
great to have you.
you're kind of your own state. I'm just saying.
That's right. We
You're
used to be
your
our
own
own country.
country,
Come on
like
now.
your own thing. So,
That's right. The promised land over
yeah.
here. Okay. Enough about Texas. In a few minutes, we would love for you to share who is Carrie Nellis
That's
and how did you come to lead the charge in the pro-life, pro-love adoption movement?
Well, I appreciate being on here. Thank you so much. It's such an honor. And I know that you could have anybody on to talk about this topic. So it means a lot to be here and to speak to all
Yeah.
of y'all. It's funny. I always grew up wanting to be a missionary.
Mm.
And I remember when I graduated from college and I sat there like many grads do of what do I do? And the Lord sent me to law school and I said, what in the world? Like, why are you sending
Mm.
me to law school? How am I going to be a missionary, right? In law school. And during the whole time I was in law school, I kept saying, God, I swear I heard your voice, but I must have heard it wrong. Like something's not right. I don't fit in here. Because Lauren, you can attest to it. Like women in law school are vicious. I mean,
Yeah.
it is law school is cutthroat, but women take it
Mm.
to a totally different level. And I'm like, fine, take my notes here. I don't care. Yeah, I had my first case come across as a newbie attorney, and it really opened my eyes. I was honored to be asked to be on the board of directors for CASA, court appointed special advocates. And I had the audacity to, as a board member, to be like, I really should know what my organization that I'm on the board for is doing. So I got entrenched in juvenile court, and it really
Mm.
opened my eyes to everything. And the more and more that I got involved within juvenile court, within the adoption world, I'm really sad to say that I saw a very dark underbelly of adoption.
Yeah.
I saw how it was becoming more and more transactional. I saw how money controlled so many things. And no offense to adoptive parents, but
Mm.
it was all about the adoptive parents and not the woman in the corner crying. I literally would get hired by adoption agencies and to come into the hospital room to take what we in Georgia call legal surrenders. Some states call them consents. And I would be the first person she ever saw in person regarding her adoption plan. She'd already given birth. This is at least 24 hours after giving birth. And I was the first person she ever saw in person regarding her adoption. Nobody had taken her to her local pregnancy center and said, look at the different opportunities and different programs and what can we do to help you parent. Nobody had said different community organizations or government programs that there are to help her, to empower her. It was
Mm.
all of, throwing money at them and turning it into a transaction. And
Mm.
I am happy to say that I got fired from a lot of these adoption agencies because I refused to take the surrenders. I took it very seriously as an attorney. I have to sign an affidavit saying that the mother understood everything that was going on, that she understood all of her options, that she understood that she didn't have to make this, that she could, choose foster care, she could find a relative, she could do other things. And I didn't feel comfortable signing that affidavit and putting that before the court. And
Mm.
so I would tell the adoption agencies and they would say, well, we'll find somebody that will. And I'm like, okay, well, good. That's not going to be me. I also talked a lot of moms out of making adoption plans, and so they did not like that. But they hadn't really thought about the grief that they were entering into, this hard decision.
Mm.
We talk to moms all the time, and we say, "Look, you've got to choose your heart. You are in a place where you have to make hard decisions. Regardless of the decision you make, it's going to be hard. If you parent, parenting is not easy. That is going to be hard.
Yeah.
If you decide to make an adoption plan, that is not going to be easy. That is going to be hard. But I wanted women to understand what they were walking into. I wanted them to have their eyes wide open. And the more and more I got entrenched within the adoption community, I saw how it was all about the adoptive parents. And because adoption
Mm.
agencies, in order to keep their doors open, needed to onboard more adoptive parents, right? And so they would charge them $10,000, $15,000 just to sit on a waiting list. Well, we've got all these adoptive parents saying, "Where's my baby?" So then on the other side, the adoption agency was becoming more coercive with the moms because they had this demand, and I hate using that term, but that's what it is, of adoptive parents saying, "I want a baby, where's my baby?" So they became coercive with women to help meet the quota. And I hated that.
Wow.
And I saw it. And I saw it for the attorney on boards. I saw it as the attorney in the, hospital room. When I told them I don't think she should sign, she doesn't know what she needs to do. And they would say, well, you got to make her sign or tell her that we're going to call DFACS on her if she doesn't. And I'm like, I am not threatening DFACS to this woman. So in 2016, I stepped outside the boat and I created Abiding Love Adoption Agency in Georgia. We are now licensed in 3 states, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina. And we just do things very differently. We're kind of that Southerner that puts it on the front porch and gives it some sweet tea. And we say, this is
Mm.
who we are. We are different and we're okay with it. We don't have waning adoptive families because our mission is not to find babies for people. Our mission is to love her big and well, regardless of her decision. If she is going to parent, then we want her to do that successfully. We want to connect her with the right resources. We want to champion her on. If she is going to make an adoption plan, then we want to walk alongside her with that. We want to connect her with with other birth mothers who have done that. And we want to be able to champion her and be there for her as well during that. It's a very different model. I don't know any other agency in the country that has our model. 7 years later, people are still scratching their heads saying, I don't get it. God has always provided financially for us, but I wanted to keep
Mm.
the main thing. And for us, that's first of all Jesus, but second of all, loving moms and keeping them the focus and not, waving it into finding babies for people. So that is how I
Yeah.
ended up here.
That's powerful. Really, there's so much in there that I know I need to sit with and think about more, right? And we've had many conversations over the last couple of years as we've gotten to know each other, and we have really made sure here at Sidewalk Advocates for Life that we are leaning into that philosophy, just as you laid it out, right? The idea is first, if we can. Help her to parent if that really is her heart and really what she wants to do, then let's give her the resources to do that and to do it well, right? It's
Yes.
the idea that a child belongs with his mother, right? If we can do that and we can help lay a path forward. So the idea is that we don't want adoption to just be kind of like this side choice, right? That it really is her choosing to do that actively, right? Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yes, and I say something controversial. Some people disagree with me on this, but I believe
Yeah.
that making an adoption plan is a parenting choice.
Yeah.
Because I really do believe that she knows that she has the opportunity to parent, physically parent day to day in and day out,
Yeah.
but choosing to place your child with another family and is a decision. It is a parenting decision. It is making a decision about what do I want for my child? Where do I want my child
Mm.
to live? What kind of family do I want my child to live in? Do I want
Yeah.
my child to have other siblings? Do I want my child to live on a farm in the city? Do I want my child to be a Georgia fan? Which, praise God, I sure hope that they do. But all of those things, and that is a parenting choice. You are choosing this,
Yeah.
and I think that going back to on the sidewalk, the women that are walking into the abortion clinics are in crisis. They're in
Yeah.
crisis. They are
Yeah.
not thinking clearly about anything. They are saying, and someone said this to me once, and it really stuck with me. In their head, they are saying, I'm pregnant and I need not to be. I'm pregnant and I need not to be. That is
Yeah.
it. There's no
Right.
rational thinking that's going on. There's no long term thinking. There's only the short term thinking of, I'm pregnant and I don't want to be pregnant right now. I
Yeah.
can't be pregnant. I don't want to be pregnant. All of these things. And so I don't know about you, but I don't make decisions when I'm in crisis. And we shouldn't
Yes.
encourage any woman to make a decision when she's in crisis. We need
Right.
to get her out of crisis mode. I
Yeah.
think that's something that Planned Parenthood preys on women, that
Mm.
they're in crisis and they prey on them in that time. And then, and especially now, they're like, you've only got a certain amount of time in order to do this. So you've got to do it now. And what I always say to moms is, you know what? Breathe. Take
Mm.
a moment and breathe. You do not have to make any decision right now. You need to get out of crisis, deal with the fact that, okay, accept what is happening, and then look at what are all of your choices and to look at them truly and fully. And so when we have
Yeah.
a woman walking into a center and we have, advocates outside, which by the way, y'all are heroes in what y'all do.
Mm.
And I've been out there so many times, and with y'all, and just it's hard work what you do, and I love
Yeah.
it, because I'm a crazy person that I try to befriend abortion clinics, so I go into them because I want them to know about the option of adoption. And
Mm.
I have learned if you bring fried peach pies, you can get in to Planned Parenthood. So I'm just saying.
Yes,
Um,
and side note, we don't recommend sidewalk advocates do this. Carrie can do this as an adoption attorney and advocate, right? We're trespassers from their perspective, but Carrie's got a
yeah.
different disposition.
I
Yeah.
got a different thing because I'm
Yeah.
sitting here saying, because my thing is, look, you got a woman who's past whatever the thing is, you need to be able to give her options. And there's some
Yeah.
states that they are required that they have to give them like three resources. And so I'm sitting there saying, I'm one of those resources. But at any rate, I've been out there. I have seen the signs of, I'll adopt your baby. And
Mm,
I've heard them saying that to women. And we have spent a lot of time talking to women who encountered that. Vitae
yeah.
Foundation has done some great research on it. And what we have found is that when we do that, the woman is seeing that she's not seen,
Interesting.
that all
Yeah.
they're interested in is her baby.
Ooh.
Seeing her for her. She has
Yeah.
all of a sudden become a commodity and
Yeah.
she is not seen for her. And what do we want? We want her to know that she is seen, she is loved, not only by all these people out here, but more importantly, by God. And we want her to know she is not a commodity. She is not just an incubator. And so many women feel that when we're sitting out there saying, hey, I'll adopt your baby, or I can connect you, with a friend of mine who wants to adopt, that they're being preyed upon, that
Mm,
they are being reduced to being an incubator. I've
mhm.
had so many moms say to me, I just felt like I was a walking incubator over and over and over again.
Gosh.
And
Yeah.
Vitae did an interesting research, and they found that it actually makes a woman more abortion determined, which is very
Interesting.
scary because,
Mm,
again, it just belittles them and they don't feel seen.
mm.
So, we always encourage, and one of the things I love about working with y'all is y'all encourage your sidewalk advocates to be connected with local pregnancy centers
Yes.
in your area. We need to connect them with the resources so that y'all are on the front lines. Y'all connect them with the pregnancy centers, and then the pregnancy centers can get in there and are trained to talk about all of the different options. And they have hopefully vetted the adoption agencies that they refer to. If you don't vet your adoption agencies, please, please, please vet your adoption agencies. Not everybody is who they say they are.
Yeah.
And so I love that model of sidewalk advocates because it's a powerful model. I really believe that I believe in the body of Christ. I believe that if we, as the body of Christ, would actually work together as the body of
Yeah.
Christ and allow this hand to do what God has organized and created this hand to do, and this hand to do what God has created this hand to do, and to do it in union, we could be so effective for the kingdom of God. And
Yeah.
so, y'all being on the sidewalks and saying, okay, let me get you connected with a pregnancy resource center. Let me get you connected with options. Free ultrasound. You don't have to pay for that today. Free STD testing, all of those things. Let me get you connected. And then the center can be talking about all of the different options. I know there's different centers that have different philosophies. Some of them won't even talk about adoption at the beginning because, again, mom is in crisis.
Mhm.
Some of them wait until, she has hopefully chosen life and then talk about her parenting choices, which would be physically parenting the child or making an adoption plan. Um,
Yeah.
and depending on how far along the woman is, I think that centers decide on that. But it's important we want women to feel seen. One of the things I
Yeah.
have loved, and you, Lauren, have been spearheading this, and Sidewalk Advocates have been spearheading this, I have loved watching within the pro-life community because I'm very blessed with I had great parents that got me involved in this movement from a very young
Mm.
age. I was at the Capitol in Atlanta marching, in the 80s and the 90s. I'm old. I learned all of those things. But what I have seen in the pro-life community is we have refocused it from saving the baby to seeing her,
Yeah.
loving
Yeah.
her, to empowering her. And
Right.
that's what we need more of. And that's one of the things that our advocates on the sidewalk need to be doing so that she knows that she's seen and she knows that she is valued because she doesn't feel valued. She feels
Yes.
like she has been many times the stories of what these women have been through. I mean, it's amazing. And so
Yeah.
she does feel valued. And so when we sit there with our signs, and please hear my heart, y'all, and I'll give you an
Mhm.
address that you can send the hate mail to. But I know it's with the best intentions.
You have
I
to be
know
careful.
it.
Yeah.
And one of
Yeah.
the things you do have to be careful because you can be seen as facilitating. It
Ooh.
is illegal in most states if you are not a licensed agency in that state or a licensed attorney in that state. And there's some states only an agency can, even an attorney can.
Yeah.
But if you are not one of those two areas, you cannot connect an expectant mother. We do not call her a birth mother at this point, because until she has put pen to paper and made an adoption plan, she is an expectant mom. So they cannot connect an expectant mom to a prospective adoptive parent. If they do that,
Mm.
that is facilitation, and it is illegal in most states. I'm really proud of our state. State of Georgia has led the march this past year, and we have ruffled a lot of feathers. I mean, the hate mail I've gotten. But
Mm.
I testified before the Georgia Senate last fall, and really showed the underbelly of adoption and how we attorneys have found the back doors to aid and abet. It's really important that we, as the body of Christ, do not get ensnared in that, because let me tell you, they are looking for any way to find us that we've done anything illegal. I mean, think of all the cases
We have a
of
target on our back. Yeah,
we do.
absolutely.
Why are we
Absolutely.
giving Satan a foothold?
Right.
Do things the right way. And again, we want her to feel valued. And a lot of women, when we, connect them with a family or connect them with someone that they know, then they
Mm.
feel obligated. And many times they want to change their mind on the adoption, but they're scared to, because they're going to lose you as a friend, or they're going to
Mm.
upset you. And there needs to be the proper people around her,
Yeah.
loving her, advising her. Hopefully the adoption agency that the centers are referring to require that the mom have her own attorney. We
Mm.
require every mom to have her own attorney, and we pay for that, because she has to have, we believe, separate counsel. That is something that is so important. Um,
Yeah.
but we want that. We want her to be valued. So I really do a thing of caution for sidewalk advocates. Be careful about that. I have a lot of people who call me with great intentions, and I'll tell you one thing: Georgia is cutting down on it. And even if y'all are not criminally charged, the thing
Mm.
is, like, the states are denying the adoption if they found out that the
Wow.
way that the mom and the expectant mom connected was not legal.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah,
Yeah.
every state, and there's a thing called ICPC. It's called it stands for the Interstate Compact on the Placement of Children. And so, let's say a mom gives birth in Georgia and she places with a family in Alabama. We have to get permission from the state of Georgia for the child to leave the state of Georgia with those adoptive parents, and we have to get permission from the state of Alabama for the child to enter the state of Alabama with those adoptive parents. It is a
Mm.
lot of red tape, and I'm very proud of the state of Georgia that they have, instead of rubber stamping things like a lot of states do, they have started to really dig in to make sure that everything is being done legally, because they have
Mhm.
seen some of the underbelly and how it affects women and our children. And so they are denying ICPC placement. And,
Yeah.
you can't get an adoption through if you don't have ICPC placement.
Well,
So,
and what I hear and what you're saying, Carrie, is it's all going kind of back to the natural order, right? This is not a transaction. People are not commodities. What you're doing is, and I, even when I was preparing for the show and I looked at this in your bio, that you have a priority of loving that birth mom well, because it doesn't serve her, it doesn't serve the child, it doesn't serve the family, it doesn't serve the adoptive parents, right? If there's been some element of coercion here. I mean, that's what I hear in what you're saying, you know?
it is.
And yeah.
Yeah, and just the attorney in me has to come out. So
Yeah.
sorry, but I mean, the only way you can undo an adoption, and every
Mm.
state has different, like, statutes of repose and stuff, is if you can prove coercion or undue, influence or fraud. That's
Okay.
scary. And that
Wow.
is the reason
Wow.
that we have got to protect this mom. We've got to protect these children, and protect the adopted parents too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we've got to do it the right way. And that means we've got to have people that know what they're doing and do it well and do it ethically and in the name of the Lord.
Absolutely. And on the sidewalk, I will tell you, I've been out on the sidewalk now for, oh, what is it, like 22 years, well over 20 years now. And started when I was a teenager, in case you're doing the math on my age. But anyways,
You're still
I
preaching.
yeah, there you go. There you go. I want to say I can count on a few hands the times that I actually offered adoption, and even then it was planted as a seed. It was planted as a these are your options, right? But very much like there's no pressure, there's obviously no coercion going on or whatever. It's just saying, "Hey, these are the opportunities that are before you," and we're even having to frame out the opportunity of open adoption, right? So it's a seed that's planted. But like you said, really the first thing, I mean, really as Sidewalk advocates, we're just trying to get her to, come home to herself and rebond with her child, right? And
Yes.
recognize that she has resources and options even before her. That's the first step in getting her out of the burning building. We're
Mhm.
doing crisis intervention where the paramedics are arriving to the scene, and then we want to get her into the arms of the hospital, which ultimately is Jesus Christ. But the body of Christ and this particular expertise is in our pregnancy resource centers. They do ongoing crisis management. And then, like you said, after that deep breath, at an appropriate time, in the right time, then she can look at her options and make that decision. But from her perspective, she's in that burning building, right?
Yeah.
Carrie, let me ask you this. Today, 2024, or actually, when this show airs, it'll be the top of 2025. What is adoption actually look like today? Like we hear open adoption, semi open, closed, what does a successful adoption look like in the modern era?
I think, well, there's a lot of questions there that directions I can go, but I think that in the modern era, open adoption is what moms want. And
Mm,
honestly, I'm thankful that we are now at a place where we're getting good data and
yeah.
studies showing that it is the most healthy for the adoptee as well as
Mm,
the birth mother. If we don't tell our children who they are, if they don't know who they are, um,
mm,
Satan is going to have a field day with them.
yeah.
And I have never met a mom who did not love her child. I had a mom I will never forget about 14 years ago, and she gave birth in the parking lot of the hospital because she did so many lines of coke she couldn't even make it into the emergency room.
Oh, gosh.
But Lauren, I remember holding her, and I remember her telling me how much she loved her child and how much she hated the chains of addiction, but she wanted the best for her child. I've never met a
Wow.
mom that didn't. And her son deserves to know how loved he is. And
Yeah.
so with the closed adoptions, and especially children not knowing they were adopted and then finding out, it showed that it made them feel that they were discarded and not loved
Mm,
and rejected and all these things. And there is nothing truthful in any of those statements. And that is something that the devil wants to do to these children. And
mm,
instead, what open adoption allows is for them to know why their mother and or father made this decision, why, how, the pains that she went through, the grief that she went through, and knowing who she is, and hopefully, the father as well.
yeah.
Why do I love swimming? Why do I love, coloring and art? Why do I love the
Mm,
color pink? These kinds of things. Children want to know. There's a reason why Ancestry and 23andMe are so
mm,
popular because people want to know who they are. And kids want
yeah.
to know that. And open adoption allows for that. But also on the other end, open adoption allows for healing for the mother. A lot of
Mm,
times there's a grief cycle. There's always a grief cycle, but a lot of times what we see is moms kind of take a step back because they're working on healing. A birth mother that I worked with and who is now an advocate on our team, and I'm honored. She explains it this way: you always are going to be carrying baggage, right? There's just
mm,
baggage that you're going to be carrying. But when
yeah.
you work through the grief, you turn that baggage into luggage. And luggage is something you can manageably take with you on a daily basis. Hopefully it's rolling. And so when moms work through their grief and they've taken it from just the trash bag that they're carrying around the baggage and packed it into luggage, and they're in that relationship, that it actually is healing, and they get to see,
Mm,
their child thriving and doing what, is they everything they wanted.
Mm.
And, a lot of people think that it's confusing. It's not. Their children are so much smarter than we give them credit for.
Mhm.
And there's enough room in a child's heart. It's just you begin at the beginning telling them their story. We always are talking
Yeah.
to adoptive families that we know when you bring your baby home, you sit there because you're going to be there for a lot of nights and open times where you're going to be like, why are you not going to sleep? So during those times, you start rehearsing your child's story, telling him or her about his mother and or father and why he or she made this decision. Don't embellish it. Don't create a fairy tale, be realistic. But then as they get older, you get to add more age appropriate details, right? They know
Yeah.
their story. They know who they are. I pray for my girls. I want them to grow up knowing who they are in Jesus Christ. And
Mm.
and that is what, for adoptees, they have an added layer of that because they need to know that, but they also need to know who they are physically and genetically, and those things are important. So open adoption really allows for that. And, a lot of times it is more palatable to women. They want open adoption. They are more inclined to choose adoption because they get to make sure their child is okay. They get to ensure that their child is thriving and doing well. That's one of
Yeah.
the reasons why, the foster care system is so broken. DFACS is the one that chooses the family. The mom doesn't get any relationship with the child once the adoption goes through. She doesn't even know who the family is. And so,
Mhm.
that's why open adoption allows her to be in the driver's seat and say, okay, I know I can't parent. I know this is not what's best for my child, but I'm going to find a parents that are able to do that and are going to do it well. And I get to watch him or her grow up and I get to be there. And it's a relationship, just like any relationship takes work. And if you're willing to do the work, then it can be beautiful and it can be as open as possible. I mean, we have families that spend Mother's Day together. We have families that go to Disney World together. We have families that spend holidays together. Is that the norm all the time? No. But if you do the work, you build in, then it works. And for adoptive parents, a
Mm.
lot of times adoptive parents would adopt because of infertility.
Mm.
And then they never worked through their own grief of infertility. And so it became a possessive thing. I'm afraid that if I have the birth mother involved, then he or she is not going to love me. And so we really encourage adoptive parents to work through their own grief that brought them here. Why did are they adopting? Have they, grieved the dream of biologically having a child, of being pregnant? Because when they are working through that, and then all of the triad, we call it the adoption triad, the all three, they come together and it's a strength thing. So I see
Mm.
that as the norm. I think that there's a lot of people that have positive and negative opinions of adoption and open adoption specifically. There's some that are like, I could never do that. And they think of it as sharing or as a shared custody. It's not. I mean, we make that very clear,
Yeah.
but it allows for her to have a relationship, and that is really important for all. I think the other thing I see for
Good way to look at it.
2024 or
Mhm.
2025, I got to get used to saying that. Sorry.
I know, right?
But 2025 is we're going to see more adoption reform. We
Yeah.
have started something, and I'm excited to see there's some federal legislation that we're hoping to get passed through that will just really across the board make it illegal for facilitators, and which is going to be beneficial for moms and obviously the babies, but it's going to be beneficial for the adoptive parents too, because many of them spend all this money and don't even know it's illegal,
Right.
and being ethical for adoption. So I think that's something we're going to see. I'm hoping that Georgia will be a catalyst for other states regarding
Mm.
ICPC, of not rubber stamping things, but really looking at the origins and making sure everything was done illegally. And so I'm hoping that. I think one of the other things we are seeing, and we've seen it this year, and it's a very interesting thing, is we're seeing more toddler adoptions.
Mm.
And yeah, a lot of women who we're seeing really between 1 and 5. is there's a heightened right now. A lot of women who would have placed during COVID but did not are making adoption plans. It's one of the reasons we have some high numbers in foster care as well. But we're going to be seeing more of that. I'm hoping that as the economy hopefully changes, that we will have that will change. I know a lot of adoption agencies prey on women because they say, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," instead of helping them, find resources so that they can continue to parent. So finances is not the only reason, but we're seeing a lot of that. So it's a
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, really
we're gonna
fascinating. Wow. Um, Carrie, we've got 1 minute left. As we close out here, talk to people about what to say and what not to say. How do we reframe this as the or heroic option that
Mhm,
it is?
mhm.
Adoption is the heroic option that it is. And what do we stay away from? What do we run towards? Give us like a 1 minute rundown.
1 minute rundown from an attorney. I don't know how to do that. Okay. Well, I mean, don't say I'll adopt your baby or I will connect you with somebody. I think the big thing is just make sure for you, you have vetted adoption or not adoption, but you've vetted local pregnancy resource centers that are local to your area. You've met with them. You know the services that they provide. You know that they're good services. Be armed with the truth and with the
Mm,
information and give her the information. Planned Parenthood's not giving her the information. They're just trying to pass her through and give her, a prescription or whatever.
yeah,
Arm her with the information and steer her in that direction. See her, remind her that she is loved, that she is cared for, that she is seen. When you're on the sidewalk, it is so powerful for the women to know that you standing there see her. And
yeah.
so that's what I would encourage you to do. I would encourage you to, excuse me, to love her big and well from the sidewalk, regardless of the decisions that she makes, and to know that you have the resources to connect her with that.
So good. So good. Thank you, Carrie. You are just a superstar. I really see you on a beautiful crusade to remind people that this is a gift, that this is a gift and that needs to be treated as such. And the way that we cradle this opportunity, the way we cradle this option matters. And we
Yeah,
got to make sure we do it right so that everybody involved is healthy and well, or we at least set them up well in that regard, right? And God then has a greater opportunity. We've created space for him to come in and do a mighty work. And
yeah,
so we need to make sure that we're not getting in his way and how we're
yeah.
conducting this and offering this. So yeah, thank
And
you. Thank you so
still,
much.
he is still the same God who parted the Red Sea.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
can do it. He did it. He's done it again. He will do it again. And I love sitting here watching it. So
Mm.
isn't it great to have a
Yeah.
front row seat watching God do amazing things?
Oh, it's so good, right? Never a dull moment on the sidewalk. I know in your industry as well. And then together, as we look at this movement, already so many miracles, right? Still got
Yep.
challenges before us. But like you said, we know who God is in the valley and in the light. He's still the same God. And we're moving forward towards the victory line. So we know with him, all things are possible.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yes. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
you.
having me. Appreciate it.
Loved
Love
it.
you so much. Love all of
Yes.
y'all, what y'all are doing, and know that we at Biting Love are praying over all of y'all. So
Thank you. Love you too. Keep up the great work. Thanks so
thanks.
much. All right. Well, a thought here as we get ready to close out the show. Abortion, adoption, and parenting. These are the so called three choices before women when they face an unexpected pregnancy. Interestingly, research tells us that women initially see adoption again as the least desirable of the three choices or options. I remember when I studied that, I was shocked, right? I was looking at the Vitae Foundation research. Again, we tend to think that adoption is the clear winner. Baby lives, mom gets the life she wants, bada boom, bada bing, everybody wins, right? But again, what the research shows, and we can now understand this in the greater context of what Carrie shared with us, is that she sees it as two deaths. She has to surrender her current identity. Then she has to bond with her child for 9 months and grieve the loss of that child. Again, that may be hard for us to hear and to wrestle with, but as Carrie notes, we can do our part to present this opportunity in a healthy light, even if it's true that there will be natural grief involved. I can tell you that when I speak with people after adoption as opposed to abortion, there is absolutely a clear difference. There's a piece there that is different. As adopted sons and daughters of God, as the scriptures note, we have a special role in celebrating this beautiful, selfless option, ensuring we do well by both child and mother. So I want to encourage us to do our part to continue our education on this topic and be at the ready to offer and celebrate it in the most helpful, respectful way possible. What a heroic opportunity. So beautiful. All right. Well, with that, once again, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Lauren Musica Show. We'll be back here next Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central on Facebook Live, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Thanks so much for hanging out with me again, and I will see you next week.